everyone, I'm Suzanne Lively. Welcome to A Lively Perspective. On this channel, I share with you my love of homeschooling and my passion for everything book related. In today's video, I'm going to share with you a selection of chapter books for young readers. The chapter books that I'm going to share with you today, I selected based on the main character's grade level, diversity, and gender. So the books I'm going to share with you, the main characters are all diverse females in grades 1 to 3. Now, my daughter, if you're familiar with this channel, is 8. She's going into grade 3. And for any of those that have kids, you know they love to identify with children in the same age and particularly grade level. Hence the 8 and under in this particular batch of books. I do want to note this is by no means an exhaustive list of the books available under these headings. The majority of the books, all actually except one that I'm about to share with you, have all been put under the category of realistic fiction, which my daughter definitely appreciated. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in and share those with you today. I'm going to share by grade level, starting with grade 1 up into grade, actually there's a couple here from grade 4. All right, I'll share the first list from grade 1. This particular one that I'm starting off with was my daughter's favorite of them all. And this is JoJo Makoons. And this is by Dawn Quigley. And this is about a little girl who lives on an Ojibwe reservation in the United States. And she's in grade 1. And her best friend at home is the cat Mimi. And she has her best friend at school named Fern. And she's in this book trying to work out what happens when she thinks she's going to lose her best friend. It is very funny. JoJo gets into all kinds of mischief without meaning to, and we very much enjoyed this book. Now, this is the first book and hopefully a series of many books to come. The second book is Meet Yasmin, and Yasmin is a Pakistani American, and she's in grade 1 as well, and she is absolutely adorable, and you meet her mom and dad in this book, and she just goes on a lot of little adventures, and we really enjoyed this. I have another one around the house somewhere that we purchased as well, and definitely recommend these as well. Also, yeah, if you like Yasmin, there are 17 of these books at present. So as of today's date, I'm going to let you know how many books there are in the series for each of these books, as of today's date. Then we have Katie Woo, and Katie Woo is a Korean American, and she has 2 friends that are also very diverse friendships, which is I love as well. And they do really normal everyday activities the kids are doing, and really shows their relationship, and you get to know a little bit about her nationality as well going through, and we really love these. And I also want to note, for those in terms of reading, difficult levels of reading difficulty, my daughter, like I said, just started grade 3. She has no problem reading Katie Woo, and she could read Yasmin as well. JoJo Makoons is a bit more challenging, so I read this one to her, but I thought you might want to have that information if your little one's learning to read. And Katie Woo, there is like 40 different books of Katie Woo. So if this is a favorite in your house, you will have no problem finding these in public libraries or at your local bookstore. 2 books for grade 2. And the first one is Mindy Kim. In this book, Mindy Kim has moved to a new town with her dad, a new state. She was in California, and unfortunately her mom passed away. And in this book, we're introduced to her, and she's getting to know her new classmates and get used to being in a new town. And this was a really enjoyable read as well. I would also want to recommend, before I forget this, for grade 1, Sofia Marinez is another fantastic series. And she speaks Spanish, and they have Spanish words dispersed throughout the book. And I have one that we've already read, and I had set it aside for this video, could not find it. We looked and looked. I'm sure it will turn up, but I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that name as well, Sofia Marinez, because we really love those books as well. I will list all these books down below. Now, the next one for grade 2 is Lola Levine, and Lola Levine is really into soccer. She has an older brother, and this is very funny, and I love the way it's written. It's very punchy and fast-paced, and we very much enjoyed this one. It was one of my daughter's favorites as well. And they also disperse Spanish words in here as well. I don't know why I have these both. This one we own. This one was from the library, and we're definitely getting more of those. I'm really appreciating these as well because we are doing a Latin American study. We're really focusing on Latin America this year for our world studies. So this is a perfect book to complement what we're studying. I like to throw in a lot of fiction books if I can that have some context to what we're studying in our homeschool. All right, we're going to move into grade 3. And like I said, my daughter is going to grade 3. I think that's why I ended up with so many books from grade 3 in terms of a search. Again, I'll start off with one of my daughter's favorite one out of the stack, and it was Ruby and the Booker Boys. I just realized I forgot to say some of the author's name. Mindy Kim was by Lola Levine. Oh my goodness, I forgot them all. This was written by Sadie Faruqi. I know I said JoJo Makoons. The author for Katie Wu is Fran Manushkin. And Mindy Kim is by Lola Levine. And Lola Levine was written by Monica Brown. Ruby and the Booker Boys is written by Derek Barnes. And in this book, Ruby is starting grade 3 and she has 3 older brothers. And she has a lot of pizzazz, Ruby does. And she wakes up singing, and that's the whole home's alarm clock, just to give you an example. And she has dressed fantastic in lots of purple and sequins and sparkly things for the first day of school. She has a very big personality, and we've been enjoying this so far. I'll be curious to see what transpires through the entire book because we've only read a couple chapters, but loved it. Like I said, it was one of my daughter's favorite. Thus far, there are 4 books in this Ruby and the Booker Boys series. And then we have The Amazing Life of Azaleah Lane. So this is the Azaleah Lane series. This is by Nikki Shannon Smith. And there are 4 books thus far in this series as well. I read the first chapter of this with my daughter and we enjoyed it. Azaleah Lane was off to the zoo. So in this story, Azaleah's little sister has lost her stuffy and Azaleah is off to kind of solve the case. And I'll be curious to see where that ends. But again, this was really enjoyable as well. And the next one is Lulu and the Duck in the Park. And this is by Hilary McKay. And this is full of animals. And everybody knows that Lulu loves animals. That's what she's known for. She has many of them. And my daughter absolutely adored this book because anything with animals. It did make me think that I should do a video of chapter books that feature animals because we have quite a few. I'm sure my little girl is not the only one that loves those. If that's something that interests you, please leave it down below. And I'll be sure to include this and a few more series that we know that we love about animals. There are 7 books in this series thus far. Now this next one, I loved. My daughter loved it too. I think I did like it more than her even. It's called Wednesday Wilson Gets Down to Business. And this is by Bree Galbraith. This is, her name is Wednesday, and she wants to be an entrepreneur. So this book is really focused. It's another one that's really snappy and you get drawn in immediately, but she's determined to be a billionaire and she writes a list of what she's going to do with all the money that she has. And that's really her focus. And I personally, as an entrepreneur for so many years, absolutely love the focus of this. And I will be doing a Combine With Me video that actually, one of the curriculum that I'm binding is for young entrepreneurs. So this is a subject that's dear to my heart. I love the idea of introducing this to kids at an early age. So I'm really happy that I discovered this. And I'm really happy that it's by a Canadian author. As a Canadian, certainly love to have the opportunity to support other Canadians. Oh, this is the first book of the series, and there's supposed to be more, and I cannot wait. Next, we have another grade 3, and this is Stella Diaz Has Something to Say. And this is by Angela Dominguez. And Stella is Mexican-American. Again, another great book that ties in with our world studies this year. And there are 4 books in this series as well. And in this first chapter, we're introduced to Stella, whose mom works full-time and is home making spaghetti, and we meet her older brother, and they're just such a loving family. And again, there's Spanish words dispersed throughout, which I love. And Stella talks a lot about her mom, how she gets her English and her Spanish mixed up sometimes, or puts them together. For example, she was calling spaghetti spaghetti. And I love that they've put those real life scenarios in these books as well. I think it's going to be really enjoyable. Again, we only got one chapter into this book. Definitely caught our interest though, and we're going to continue. I'm sure you'll see more of these in our future reading updates. Last year, I was doing a monthly to be read, and we do like a monthly wrap up of all the books that we read in that month. If that's something that interests you, definitely let me know. I keep debating on if I should continue with those videos in that series, but if that's something that interests you, seeing what we read in a month, let me know down below. So those were the books from grade 1 to 3, as I mentioned in the intro. And I have one book that's for grade 4. And this is Sarai and the Meaning of Awesome. And this is by Sarai Gonzalez and Monica Brown. And talk about personality. Definitely Sarai has I keep saying that. I can't help it when the main characters have such big and outgoing personalities. I'm always drawn in, probably because, well, maybe I relate just a little. But yeah, I love when it's very colorful and out there. I just want to go and play in that space. So definitely. You might have heard about Sarai Gonzalez. She was an overnight sensation. And after appearing in Bomba Estério's Soyo, a music video about embracing yourself and loving your flaws, it had like over 30 million views. And there are 4 books. Yes. There are 4 books now in this series as well. And I was looking through the list just yesterday, and I saw the 4th book is about her learning to use her imagination to go all over the world. There's a world fair at her school. So I ordered that one right away from Amazon. I kind of skipped book 2 and 3, but we really love this book. And I know we're going to continue with this series. That one caught my attention immediately. And we're going to skip ahead to that one. I think it's a great focus to read before we get even more into our world studies this year. At the beginning of the year, to read a book like that and kind of open my daughter's eyes to seeing things differently in terms of our study going forward this year, I think is a great idea. In this particular book, we meet Sarai and her family, and her grandparents are losing their home. They rented the same house for like 20 years. And the renter wants to sell the home. They can't afford it. And she's determined that she's going to help her grandparents save their home. The last book I'm going to mention is not part of this realistic fiction, which was the focus in these books. And I am really glad that I had a bunch of books that focused on realism, because my daughter really started to identify with how she was feeling. I felt really good about that and excited. And I'm going to definitely encourage her to read more of these, and I will read more with her. I heard a TEDx speaker talk about the importance of not only seeing yourself on the page in terms of diversity, that it was important for all of us to provide a window for other people. And I'm really happy to see that my daughter is identifying because of this window that was provided. I'm grateful for that, and I think it's important for all of us. So I'm happy we get this stack of books out, and I'm sure you'll see us with another one before the year is out. The last book that I want to mention that is not from the realistic fiction genre, it is fantasy, is Zoey and Sassafrass. I needed to mention this. Now, like I said, this is fantasy because Zoey sees and helps to heal magical animals like her mother does. She's a scientist like her mother, and we have gotten so much from this series, and this is the first book my daughter started to really take a huge interest in science when we started to read this last year. So because it's had such an impact in our home, I first had to mention it. Despite it being a fantasy, I think the impact that it's had is the same. All right, if you see something in here that you like, please leave it in the comments below. If you like the video, hit like and subscribe if you want to see more like it. And if you have any recommendations for books that you think that we should try out, please leave it in the comments below. I'd be grateful. And I will see you soon with another bookish video.